It was always the Jags.
It's always the Jags. It's always the Jags.
Always the Jags.
Welcome into Always the Jags, your number one podcast for all things Jacksonville, all things Jaguars, all things Duval. I know, we're in pain this week, and it hurts. It hurts more than it should. I'm up here in Toronto, and the wintry cold is about how my heart feels. Ironically, I couldn't make the game in person. I had to watch it in DC, where I did meet a couple of cool Jags fans, so that was a little cool. And my family's taking a trip through Buffalo to Toronto, all the way to Detroit, which is where my parents are from. And on the way we passed through Buffalo, and man, the Niagara Falls is beautiful, almost as beautiful as Josh Allen. What would have been beautiful would have been a Jaguars victory. But of course, we didn't get that. So we'll talk about what that means, who's to blame, and what our biggest offseason focus should be as we move along, and hopeful ways for us to heal. If you're a Jaguars fan out there, go do something that makes you happy. Liam Coen still had a good season. Find joy in the small things. If it's a burger, if it's your favorite burger from down the street, if you got a coffee joint that makes your macchiato just the way you like it, indulge yourself and take care of yourself. You need some self-care in these times because it's rough for all of us. We're all feeling the pain. But let's talk about what went wrong and what went right. Honestly, this matchup was a haymaker between two evenly matched squads. I mean, there was like 3 lead changes in the fourth quarter, and we were just blow for blow, back for back punching. And here's the main difference. Here's the main difference between this entire game, because we all knew that technically Jacksonville had a better team, but there were areas that Buffalo was stronger in us. Namely, you could argue their running game and offensive line was a little bit better. You could argue that their pass defense was better. And you could argue that, obviously, Josh Allen is better. And while Trebir Lawrence didn't have a bad game by any means, I believe Trebir Lawrence played well. I believe he played like the franchise quarterback we need, and I believe he did just enough against any other team. I mean, 3 touchdowns, overcoming mistakes. Trevor played good ball, dare I say great ball. Here's the problem. Josh Allen played flawless ball. He was flawless. He didn't make a single mistake, a single error. He put on that Superman cape, and he went and he did what Josh Allen does. And that's the thing the Jaguars just didn't have an answer for. And that's why I would kind of blame this loss more on our defense, more than I would blame it on our offense. Because just when you look at the game flow of the game, it's like we took the lead, and then our defense couldn't get a stop, right? And then Buffalo went up 20-17. And then we were ready to take the lead again off a beautiful play from Trebir Lawrence to Travis Etienne, and it was 24-20. But as soon as we took the ball with 8 minutes left, I knew, man, we can go down and score, and I don't know if our defense can go get that stop. We're at home. The momentum is shifting our way, but I don't know if our defense can go get that stop. And unfortunately, they proved me right. Josh Allen marched down the field, left only a minute left for Trebir Lawrence to go do something miraculous, and of course, it ended up in a pick. Trying to put the ball, trying to play hero ball. That's all that comes down to. So my thought process is, again, that first interception, I think that was on Trevor. The last one to seal the game, again, I think he was trying to play hero ball, the pressure of the moment. I don't think that was ever by that point, that game script had shifted to like, Buffalo's going to win this one. But and then there's a couple of things that led to that moment that it's like, again, that 4th and 2. Did Trevor slip? Did Liam Coen not have the right play call? Or should Liam Coen have taken the points? You can look at it one way. If we took the points there and Cam Little hits his kick, his 54-yarder, we win. That's a win for the Jacksonville Jaguars. You can also look at it from the perspective of Cole Van Lannon. He was out today. Walker Little was playing for him, and Walker Little was bad. and he had some key false start penalties on him. Cole Van Lannon is clearly a superior left tackle, but why wasn't he in the game? Well, he got hurt on a play last week where we were trying to get Trevor to 4,000 yards. And of course, you don't want to start, if you want to get Trevor to 4,000, you don't want to start putting your backup offensive lineman in there to protect Trevor because you need to protect Trevor. So you need your starting offensive lineman. But Trevor got to 4,000, and then we pulled him and we pulled Van Lannon. But Van Lannon had just gotten hurt. And that's one of those things you can't anticipate as a coach. But again, in that Tennessee game, we're up by 30 points. That's something on coaching. It's like basically Cole Van Lannon got hurt for nothing because we didn't need him to win that game. That's why, and now you could argue not having him could be why we lost because Walker Little had key mistakes that killed some of our drives. And Cole Van Lannon is just better. So those are all things that we're taking into consideration when we're thinking about, how this game ended up being a loss, So to me, you could put some of it on Liam Coen. You can put some of it on Trebir Lawrence for that pick, for Liam Coen's coaching decisions and for Trebir Lawrence, slipping that one interception where he got fooled by the linebacker. Again, that was a mistake. I love how he bounced back and played better ball after that. But overall, if you're going to pin the loss on somebody, I think it's going to be Greg Newsome. I think it's going to be Greg Newsome and some guys in the secondary. I'm not going to. Devin Lloyd was okay, but there's a lot of. If you look at Greg Newsome's stats, he was perfect in the wrong way. He allowed 6 for 6, over 100 yards, and a touchdown, right? That's why we need Travis Hunter on the field, right? And I don't know if Tyson Campbell would have had the same stats if we still had him. But to me, if you want to look at someone who consistently made mistakes, I mean, again, I'm sure there are some plays where Greg Newsome locked down his guy and made him not open for Josh Allen to throw. We had a couple of coverage sacks, but to me, the only player that made multiple game-killing mistakes was Greg Newsome. I mean, that long throw to Brandon Cooks was the absolute killer. Absolute. Josh Allen was able to carve us up with nobodies. Khalil Shakir and Keon Coleman. He was able to carve us up with nobodies because he put the ball in the exact right spot and he took advantage of all the busts in our secondary. And I don't know if that's defensively on Anthony Campanelli for making the scheme too complicated or not quite, or maybe selling out to stop the run too much and not trusting these receivers can get separation. But either way, there were cracks in the zones. And for Greg Newsome, that ended up being what allowed them to absolutely destroy him. And so now we're at the point where it's what do you do? What do you do now? What do you go from here? I think our defense is still solid, but yeah, if you want to ask me who lost us the game, I'm gonna put that on him because he gave up so many big plays, and there was so much miscommunication. And Joe Brady called a great game, but again, that was it. And so, but again, also everyone had one or two mistakes. Again, Cam Little's biggest mistake was missing that 54-yarder. And that, during the season, that had been a chip shot for him. But, pressure mounting, had to get lined up quickly. So there's a lot of factors. It's that Cole Van Lannon not being out there because of a coaching decision. Going for it on 4th and 2, coaching decision. Trevor throwing 2 picks, Trevor's decisions. Cam Little not hitting that field goal. And you could argue that 4th and 2 might have been on Trevor too. We don't really know for sure. I'm not sure if he slipped or what the plan was to use his frame. A lot of people think he should have started sliding or just dove, or they don't like how he dove. I'm fine with you diving and using your big frame, but when you dive, you just gotta the play he made against the Broncos, where he just completely leapt off the ground and went vertical, horizontal to the ground. That was a great play against the Broncos to make sure we got that first down to ice our win. That was the same thing that we'd be looking for here. Go vertical, stretch the ball out, and then pull it back in to protect it. But it didn't end up going that way. So the Buffalo Bills are moving on. Honestly, from my perspective, there's a lot of Jags fans who are I hope the Bills lose next. The worst thing that can happen for us now is for the Texans to march all the way to the Super Bowl without any impedance or without us getting a say in it. I think the worst thing would be for the Texans to win the Super Bowl this year because that's a division rival, and you never want to see that. I don't want the Texans to win a Super Bowl before we do. No, I'm not okay with that. So if we are the Jaguars, I'm not rooting for the Bills, frankly, because the Bills are Josh Allen has never done it. I think he deserves to win a Super Bowl, and we'll hang our hat on. Hey, we lost to the Super Bowl winner. That's how we did in 2022. We hung our hat on. Well, we lost to the Super Bowl winner, because that was the Chiefs, in the playoffs. So it becomes like, wow, yeah, we went. I mean, we went toe to toe with whoever won the Super Bowl if the Bills end up winning, and that would put us right back in that class because a couple of things bounce our way, couple of things. If Cam Little hits that kick, we win this game. Like I don't think people realize how close that is because again, the entire narrative shifts because instead of us going, we take the lead, Buffalo takes the lead, we take the lead, Buffalo takes the lead. If Cam Little hits that, then Buffalo is just tying the game, right? So it'd be like tie, 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 tie. So it'd be like tie, and then we're in the lead, and then tie, and then we're in the lead, and then tie, and we're in the lead. So it would be like Buffalo is chasing us. And that's where Trevor plays his best ball when the other team is chasing us. And then at the end of the game, if all he has to do is march down there and get a field goal, I don't think he's trying to play hero ball because in this game, if he was trying to go down to get a field goal to win it, I don't think he's trying to play hero ball. Again, he didn't really need to play hero ball anyway, but like if the game is tied and you get the ball back at 1 minute, the pressure is on the defense to stop you. Instead, we got the ball back with 1 minute and we're down. The pressure is on us to move down the field and score. Completely changes the dynamic of the game. That's the thing I don't think analytics really takes into consideration. And I think had Liam Coen, he trusted his defense, I think, a little bit too much because our defense had been playing, like, I understood the perspective. It was early in the game. We were up 7-3. It's like, yo, if we can go 14-3, the entire game script falls in our lap because the Bills will be forced to throw, so we don't have to sell out to stop the run. And we can continue to run the ball and drain the clock, which is what they're not good at. That was the perfect script for us to cruise to a victory. And I think he thought, and even if we don't get it, we are pitting them way back. I mean, if you give someone the ball at the 35 from a touchback, it's kind of like, okay, well, you might as well go for it when you're deep in your own end because then they'll get the ball at like the 10, and offenses hate getting the ball there. And I think he had a lot of faith in his defense to get turnovers and do stuff like that. And they didn't. They didn't. And I think, Josh Allen was able to march down the field and score. And again, I think that's more of an indictment on the defense and how they played the game. And again, I think we were able to bottle up James Cook, but just Josh Allen is superhuman, man. He's superhuman. And I think he's the best quarterback left in the playoffs, and he deserves to win it all. And hopefully he does. So, moving on to kind of who should win. Like I said, I think if I'm as a Jags fan, I'm rooting for the Bills now. Sorry that they lost, but I was rooting for the Chiefs when they beat us in 22. But Bills, I like Josh Allen. I think he's a great quarterback. Really wish he wasn't in our conference. And people keep saying it every year, like when they tried to say the Chiefs were done too early. But I really do think this is going to be one of the last years for the Bills to be one of the top teams in the AFC.